My 29-year-old wife, who is stunningly beautiful, made her desire for relationships outside our marriage crystal clear, leaving no room for misunderstanding. To set up the evening, I had planned a lavish dinner at one of our favorite upscale restaurants. I made sure every detail was perfect, from the pristine white tablecloths to the impressive selection of wines. I even went all out and bought her a diamond necklace she had been eyeing, spending nearly $1,000. Little did I know, I would soon wish I had saved that money. During dinner, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. Our usual easygoing conversation was tinged with an undercurrent of tension. She seemed distracted, her eyes scanning the room as if searching for something or someone. Normally, her gaze would lock with mine, but tonight, it wandered aimlessly. After we finished the main course and enjoyed more wine, she finally broached the topic that had been weighing on her mind. "Honey, there's something I've been thinking about for a while, and I think it's time we talked about it," she said. I set my wine glass down carefully, trying to understand what she was referring to. Her serious tone indicated that this was an important conversation. I started to speculate about possible topics. Was she thinking about starting a family? We had discussed it before and agreed to wait until we were more settled in our careers and finances. Now that we were in a better place, I was looking forward to it. But her lack of eye contact suggested it might be something else entirely. Usually, talking about starting a family would be filled with excitement and focused on each other. But tonight, something felt off. "We need to have a serious talk," Emily began, her grave expression making it clear this was no casual chat. "I've been doing a lot of soul-searching, and this is really important to me," she continued, her voice trembling slightly. "I need to explore who I am outside of our relationship. I believe it will ultimately make me a better partner for you in the long run." I was stunned, my mind racing. "What exactly are you suggesting?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. I leaned in, hoping to meet her gaze, but she avoided it. "I want to pursue relationships with other people, Mark. I hope we can come to terms with this to avoid future pain," she admitted. The revelation hit me like a ton of bricks. My heart pounded, and I could feel my face flush with anger. "What do you mean by other people?" I demanded, my voice rising with disbelief and frustration. "Are you talking about seeing other men?" She hesitated, biting her lip. "Yes, that's part of it," she finally said. The room seemed to spin around me. "You're saying you want to date other men and expect me to be okay with it?" I couldn't contain my frustration. "Emily, how could you think this is acceptable?" She reached out to take my hand, but I pulled away. "I still love you, Mark. That hasn't changed. I just need to explore this side of myself. It's something I have to do," she said. Her words felt like a betrayal, and despite her calm explanation, I couldn't make sense of it. Sitting there as the restaurant's noise faded into the background, I realized our lives might never be the same. "What are you saying, Emily?" Shock crept into my voice. "You want to have an affair and expect me to just accept it while you go off with other men? This is ridiculous." My voice was louder than I intended, attracting the attention of other diners. "Lower your voice, honey," Emily hissed. "We don't need everyone overhearing." It hit me then, she had chosen this busy restaurant on purpose, thinking I wouldn't make a scene in public. I felt blindsided and completely disoriented. My stomach churned, and I felt nauseous, threatening to ruin our entire evening. The only question I could manage was, "Why, Emily? Why other men?" I pressed for more details. "What does exploring yourself mean? Are you saying you want to be physically involved with other men? Are you leaving me?" She looked at me with eyes that were both soft and determined. "No, Mark. I'm not leaving you. There are many reasons why I feel I need to do this. Please believe me when I say I love you deeply. You're my soulmate. I see a future for us, growing old together and starting a family. But right now, there are parts of myself I need to discover. I'm asking you to let me explore this for a short time. After that, I'll be fully devoted to you again. I promise." Her words were meant to offer reassurance, yet they hung between us, heavy with uncertainty. Could I truly accept this? Could our marriage survive it? The idea haunted me as I sat there, trying to come to terms with her request. This felt like the ultimate betrayal. During our 5th anniversary dinner, my wife had blindsided me with her desire to see other men. She expected me to just go along with it, promising that everything would return to normal as if nothing had happened, even claiming it would make her a better wife. I was at a loss for words, my thoughts were a chaotic mess, and I struggled to breathe, feeling as though I were trapped in a surreal nightmare. I rose from my seat, neatly placed my napkin on the table, and downed my wine in one gulp. Without a word, I set the glass down, turned on my heel, and exited the restaurant. "Honey, where are you going?" Emily called after me. "I'm not sure," I replied, without looking back. "But you should probably take a cab home." I made my way out of the restaurant, found my car, and simply drove. I had no destination in mind, I just needed to escape. My head throbbed with pain radiating from the base of my skull, making it hard to focus on anything. I drove aimlessly, enveloped in the hum of the engine and the blur of passing streetlights. Time and place became irrelevant. The next morning, I woke up in my car, my head still pounding and the surroundings unfamiliar. I stepped out, stretched, and surveyed the area, hoping that last night was just a bad dream. First things first, I urgently needed a restroom and a big cup of coffee. After handling nature's call behind a nearby bush, I returned to the car, started the engine, and set off in search of that essential coffee. I stumbled upon a quaint diner, ordered breakfast along with my coffee, and settled in to ponder my next steps. Allowing Emily to pursue relationships with other men was out of the question. It would undoubtedly spell the end of our marriage. Despite her reassurances from the night before, I couldn't shake the feeling that she was no longer the woman I thought I married. Maybe she was going through a crisis, conjuring up ideas that were completely detached from reality. I'm no psychiatrist, just a bewildered husband. I powered up my phone, which I had turned off during the night, revealing numerous texts and missed calls from Emily. She was worried about me, fearing I might have been in an accident or worse. At that moment, I wasn't ready to go home or talk to her, but I knew avoiding the situation wasn't a solution. So, I decided not to respond to her messages just yet. After downing several cups of coffee and enjoying a hearty breakfast of eggs and bacon, I formulated a basic plan for my next steps. It was time to face the issue awaiting me at home. Upon arriving at my driveway, Emily rushed out, her face etched with concern. "Honey, where were you all night?" "I was terrified, thinking you might have been in an accident or worse," she exclaimed, leaning in for a kiss. I stepped back and said firmly, "Emily, I need to freshen up first. Then we need to sit down and have a serious discussion about the self-exploration thing you mentioned last night." With that, I walked past her and headed straight for the bedroom to change out of the suit I had worn all night. I took a long, steamy shower, using the time to rehearse what I was going to say. Doubts plagued my mind. I needed to figure out if I still had a wife or if this was her way of saying goodbye. Perhaps it was a test of my commitment. Trying to understand her thoughts was driving me to the edge. I loved her deeply. We had exchanged vows and celebrated our grand wedding and European honeymoon. The idea of being with someone else had never crossed my mind. I was fully committed, but now, it seemed like she wasn't. Fortunately, we didn't have children, which simplified things. Whether that would change depended entirely on the unfolding days and weeks. After dressing in fresh clothes, I headed to the kitchen to make another cup of coffee. Grabbing a notepad and pen, I saw Emily sitting at the kitchen island, her gaze fixed on me. I tried to maintain composure, though my inner turmoil was intense. Coffee in hand, I took a seat opposite her and began, "So, Emily, Could you please reiterate why you want to explore relationships outside of our marriage? Emily met my gaze with determination. Honey, I need to seek validation as a woman. Right now, I feel my needs aren't being met. I want to identify and address those needs on my own. So, you're unsure of your needs and want to figure them out. Are you proposing a temporary withdrawal from our relationship to do this? I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. No, honey, I won't leave, Emily responded quickly. I'll stay here in our home, but I need the freedom to structure my own schedule and proceed at my own pace. When do you think you'll start this exploration and adjust your routine? I asked. Well, any time would work, she replied, her voice wavering. I don't support this at all, Emily, I said firmly. When we got married, we promised to be lifelong partners and lovers. Now you want to pursue other romantic connections. How am I supposed to process this? It feels like you're disengaging from our marriage. It's not that simple, Emily retorted, frustration evident in her voice. I'm looking for a connection that's been missing for a couple of years. Our lives have become all about work. I don't feel valued like I did in the beginning. Valued? Everything I do is for us, I countered, my anger simmering. I've worked tirelessly to provide for our future, the future we envisioned when we got married. We're on the verge of paying off this house. How can you say you don't feel valued? I knew I needed to address the most pressing issue. Are you planning to start relationships with other men? I asked, striving to keep my tone even. Emily hesitated, avoiding my gaze. I can't say for sure. If the right person comes along and it feels right, I might consider it. So you're contemplating infidelity? I pressed, unable to hide my shock. It's not infidelity if you know about it, Mark. It's not cheating if we agree to it, she said calmly. My heart raced, and I took a deep breath, wishing I had something stronger than coffee to steady my nerves. I needed to keep my composure. Let me get this straight, I said, trying to understand. You're planning to meet other men, date them, and possibly become physically involved with them. But you want to continue living here with me. Is that correct? It's not that simple, Emily said, her tone wavering. I'm still figuring things out. Seems pretty straightforward to me, I replied. What about our marriage? Are we supposed to put everything on hold while you explore this? Do you expect us to continue being intimate while you're pursuing this? Yes, Mark. We're a family, and I love you. I want us to stay together. This is something I need to do for myself, she said, her eyes pleading. And how often are you planning to do this? Every weekend? Multiple times a week? Every night? How far are you taking this? I asked. I haven't decided yet, Emily said, growing frustrated. Why are you so concerned with the details? I need to know what my life will look like while you're out dating and being with other people. I don't have a girlfriend, Emily, not yet anyway, I said, my voice tinged with bitterness. I took another deep breath, trying to keep my anger in check. Emily, I need to know if you're fully committed to this decision. Have you thought about how this will affect our marriage? Emily nodded but avoided directly answering the question. It was clear she hadn't fully considered my perspective. Then she said something that would shape our future. If you really love me, you'll let me do this. I replied firmly, if you love me, Emily, you won't go through with this. This is my ultimatum. Infidelity, even if it's pre-approved, is a deal breaker. Here's how it stands, I said, laying out my terms. If you choose to pursue relationships with other men, you need to move out. I won't live with you while you're involved with others. You need to find a new place to stay. It's not negotiable. Where am I supposed to go? Emily asked, sounding desperate. You can stay with one of your friends, like Rachel from school. She's divorced and lives alone. Maybe you can stay with her for a while. If that doesn't work, you'll need to rent a place on your own, I suggested. Emily worked as a third-grade teacher and earned a good salary. I was a forensic auditing specialist with a decent income and bonuses. From what she said, it seemed I wasn't meeting all her needs. So, if you want an open marriage, I guess I'll just have to wait while you have your affairs. Will you eventually come back home? I asked. Yes, I love you and want to stay married to you, Emily said. And what am I supposed to do while you're involved with other men? Am I expected to remain faithful and wait for you to come back after you've been with your boyfriends? Have you even thought about how this affects me? I asked, feeling overwhelmed. I want you as my husband and only you. My feelings for you won't change, Emily said, as if this was supposed to make everything okay. Her declaration of love felt insincere. Despite acknowledging my refusal to let her boyfriends into our home, she seemed to see it as a win. She could still have her affairs without worrying about my interference. Fine, I said. You have until the end of the week to find somewhere else to stay. In the meantime, you need to move your things to the spare bedroom. I can't share a bed with you right now. Your plan is too distressing. I feel like you're abandoning me, even if it's not explicitly stated. Emily fell silent, possibly realizing that I wasn't going to accept her proposal without question. Maybe she thought I was just going to let her pursue her affairs and then return to our marriage as if nothing had happened. Not a chance. Emily was acquainted with another teacher, Rachel, who had a reputation that raised my suspicions. Rachel, a divorced fourth-grade teacher at Emily's school, had been involved in a scandal 2 years ago for cheating on her husband with multiple partners, which led to her expulsion. At 35, Rachel was attractive and had a history of engaging with any man who showed her attention. I suspected she was influencing Emily's desire to explore relationships before starting a family. For me, the situation was clear. If Emily pursued this path, our family would be over, at least with me. I stood up from the table, preparing to leave. Is that all, Mark? Are you asking me to leave? Emily asked. Yes, for now, I replied. Let me be clear, Emily, I don't want you to go through with this. We promised to be faithful when we got married, and now you're planning to break that vow. What do you expect me to do? Just stand by while you date other men? If you want an open marriage, then I suppose I should have the same option. Emily was left speechless. I walked out before our discussion could escalate further. Grabbing my car keys, I headed for the door. Where are you going? Emily called after me. I'm not sure yet. But remember to move your things to the spare room and start looking for a place to stay. And remember, you won't be seeing anyone else until you've moved out, I said as I closed the door behind me with a bit more force than necessary. As I drove away, I briefly considered confronting Rachel, but I knew I needed to focus on the bigger picture. It was Emily who had caused this mess, and she needed to deal with the consequences. Besides, I suspected Rachel might be accommodating Emily, and I had to resist the urge to confront her. Monday morning, I was up and out before Emily even woke. With her plans set, I had a lot to sort out. I couldn't accept the idea of her having affairs, assuming I'd just wait for her to return and act like everything was normal. What if she came back with an STD or worse, pregnant? That was not something I could accept. Step 1 was contacting my attorney. Fortunately, he was a friend with expertise in various legal matters. While I didn't expect him to handle the divorce directly, he could recommend someone. He referred me to a skilled divorce attorney from his firm. I had a meeting scheduled with her later that afternoon. Although it would be a difficult discussion, my new attorney was a seasoned litigator familiar with our state's laws. I planned to keep the divorce as amicable as possible, aiming for a fair 50-50 split of our assets. We hadn't accumulated much before marriage, and we'd both worked hard to build our life together. I was prepared to divide things evenly. Squabbling over assets would only prolong the process, and I wasn't interested in dragging out the divorce. The assets weren't worth it if it meant dealing with a cheating wife. The paperwork would be prepared, but I needed evidence of Emily's infidelity before moving forward. The week dragged on. I made a point to stay away from home as much as possible, mostly hitting the gym to manage my stress. I noticed Emily spending a lot of time with Rachel. By Thursday, Emily informed me she'd be staying with Rachel for a couple of weeks until she found a more permanent place. I knew this arrangement would allow her to be with other men without my interference, and Rachel likely had her own suitors, adding more chaos to the situation. On Saturday, just a week after our 5th wedding anniversary, Emily packed her car with her belongings, preparing to leave. Just before driving off, she stopped. "Honey, I don't want to go." "Are you absolutely sure we can't find a way to work this out so I can stay?" she pleaded. "I love you deeply, and I genuinely want to improve our marriage," she said, but her words didn't sway me. "Emily, if you truly loved me and wanted to fix our marriage, you wouldn't pursue this," I replied, exasperated. "I want you to stay, but I can't accept you being with other men while still being my wife. I love you, but I won't tolerate this. If you're not willing to consider marriage counseling to address our issues, I don't know what else to say. So please, just go." As Emily finished loading her belongings into her car, I drove to the hardware store to buy new locks for the house. I replaced 3 locks and changed the security code for the garage door opener. That night and all of Sunday, I stayed home, staring at the walls, hoping Emily would reconsider. The following week was exceptionally tough, as I grappled with the emotional turmoil of the situation that I visited the gym daily and resumed running to cope with the stress. Yet, at times, I found myself sinking into deep depression, wanting nothing more than to approach Emily and beg for her return. It was hard to wrap my head around the fact that my wife was leaving me to chase other men while we were still married. It felt like a personal failure. Was I really so inadequate that she would openly engage in infidelity? Apparently, I was. I turned to the internet to understand infidelity better, and I was shocked to learn that about 40% of married people cheat. Even more surprising was that nearly 90% of these individuals choose to stay in their marriages. Often, the unfaithful spouse is tolerated by the other, especially when children are involved, and the betrayal is accepted as a fact of life. Many cheating wives claim they still love their husbands and families but seek excitement outside the marriage because they feel something is missing at home. The daily grind of family life, managing kids, and chores can make a husband seem dull compared to the excitement of a lover who focuses solely on them. It occurred to me that maybe treating my wife as if she were having an affair, minus the divorce, might rekindle our connection. I even considered trying to meet her at the club she frequented with Rachel. People cheat for various reasons: a lack of satisfaction in the relationship, absence of passion, or even as retaliation for their partner's infidelity. Some women believe they're saving their marriages by cheating, though I find that hard to believe. Researchers have pointed out that marriage is complex and requires effort, and open marriages rarely survive long-term. Emotional attachments form, feelings are hurt, and most couples end up divorced. Polyamorous relationships are equally tricky, especially with children involved, and the risk of disease is a constant worry. Personally, I believe in monogamy. If both partners don't agree, they should reconsider their commitment or find different partners. Did I neglect Emily? Did I push her away by focusing too much on our future? I wasn't sure. What I did know was that I was unhappy about her leaving and pursuing other men. She sought something she felt I wasn't providing, but I didn't see how her actions would improve our marriage. The following week dragged on. I refrained from calling Emily, and she only sent one text asking me to forward her mail to her new address. Her communication was purely businesslike, with no sign of wanting to salvage our marriage. It was clear she was actively pursuing new relationships. I considered following her from her apartment to see who she was meeting but resisted. I knew I couldn't subject myself to that. I needed to let her make her choice, otherwise, she'd never truly be my wife again. With each passing day, the chance of her returning grew slimmer, and the longer it dragged on, the less inclined I was to take her back. A month passed with minimal contact between us. Then, unexpectedly, Emily showed up at the house unannounced. When her key didn't work, she rang the doorbell and knocked. I answered the door, keeping my emotions in check. "Emily, what are you doing here?" I asked. "Honey, my key doesn't seem to work." "What's going on?" she replied. "That's because I changed all the locks," I said, blocking her from entering. "What do you want, Emily?" "I came to get a few things I left behind when I moved in with Jess," she answered, once again treating the visit as a business transaction rather than an attempt to reconcile. Her visit was purely about retrieving her belongings, showing little regard for the hurt she had caused. Did she really believe I wouldn't be affected by her actions? Was she naive enough to think I would eventually take her back without addressing the damage done? "There are some boxes in the garage with your things that I gathered from around the house," I said, allowing her inside since it was still partly her home. We went to the garage, where she saw numerous boxes filled with her belongings, ready for her to take. The whole scene felt surreal, as if she were treating our breakup as a minor inconvenience rather than the emotional upheaval it had caused. "How long are you planning to stay with Rachel?" I asked, trying to keep my tone neutral. Emily looked a bit taken aback but quickly recovered. "Rachel's been a real support to me. I'll probably be with her for a few more months. I'm sure by then, I'll be ready to come back to you, a better wife. We can start our family then, like we always wanted." I struggled to keep my expression neutral. Her belief that being with other men would somehow make her a better partner was infuriating. The notion was absurd and disheartening. "So, have you found a boyfriend yet?" I asked, unable to hide the edge in my voice. Emily's face flushed. I already knew the answer, but she confirmed it. "Well, Jess and I have gone out on a few dates with guys from the club. Nothing serious yet." I pressed further, "And how's the physical side of things with these new men?" Her cheeks reddened even more. She busied herself with the boxes she was collecting, avoiding eye contact. I left her in the garage and went to the kitchen to make some coffee and read the newspaper. When she emerged a few minutes later with a large bag of her belongings, she glanced around the kitchen, probably expecting to find it in disarray. Instead, she was met with a spotless room. I'd hired a cleaning service to come 3 times a week, so everything was in perfect order. It was a small comfort amidst the turmoil. "Need anything else?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. Emily seemed hesitant. "So, how have you been since I moved out? Are you coping okay?" "I'm fine," I said tersely. "Work keeps me busy, and I've been traveling a lot." Concern flickered in her eyes. "Have you been going out, or just staying home alone?" That was the question I was waiting for. I decided it was time to throw her a curveball. "I've been keeping busy," I said. "I joined a cycling group. We meet twice a week, and it's been great. After rides, we usually grab a beer and a burger. It's helped me keep my mind off things." Her reaction was telling. She seemed more intrigued by my activities than she had been about her own life. Perhaps she was beginning to realize that her plan to find excitement elsewhere might not have the outcome she anticipated. Maybe she was starting to worry that her once dependable husband might move on. I later discovered that Emily had been seeing 2 men from the club she frequented with Rachel. They'd been physically involved with her on several occasions, but neither showed any interest in a serious relationship. Both men were married and sought only casual encounters, using Emily for their own entertainment. By the time 2 months had passed, I had come to terms with the end of my marriage and was prepared to move forward. Emily's continued silence confirmed that she had no intention of returning. Even if she did, it was unclear whether I would be willing to take her back. Adding to my doubts, I learned that Emily had taken a vacation to the Dominican Republic with one of her boyfriends during the school break. They had enjoyed a tropical getaway, apparently focusing on their tan and other indulgences. If she thought that her infidelity was going to fix our marriage, she was sorely mistaken. Rachel's stories had painted me as a neglectful husband, influencing Emily's decision to leave. Now, living in a two-bedroom apartment with her disgruntled friend, her reputation was rapidly deteriorating. When Emily's mother heard about her trip to the Caribbean, she reached out to me to ask about our separation. She probably thought there were marital issues on my end. I told her that Emily had left me to pursue other men, a fact she struggled to believe. I suggested she speak directly with Emily for the full story. Emily's mother confronted her, asking, "Emily, why did you leave your home? What's going on between you and Markert? Is he mistreating you?" Emily replied, "No, Mom, Mark's not mistreating me. It's just that I don't feel the excitement I need from him. I don't feel desired. I'm looking for that elsewhere for now. I want to have some fun before Mark and I start a family. I plan to return when I'm ready, and everything will be fine." Her mother looked distressed. "Dear, if you're having affairs, Markert won't want you back. Cheating is the quickest way to end a marriage. Don't you see that?" Emily, confident as ever, responded, "I know Mark loves me, Mom. It's all part of the plan. I'm sure he'll want me back once everything settles down. He understands my needs. I'll come back in a few months, maybe a year at most, and then we'll start a family," Emily insisted. Her mother was clearly distressed. "Emily, you need to come to your senses and come back home now. There won't be a marriage or a husband waiting for you if you keep this up. And definitely no children with him. Do you understand what I'm saying?" Emily was resolute. "Mom, I'm sure Mark loves me. I just need this time to figure things out. Mark will want me back when the time is right." Despite her mother's earnest plea, Emily remained unmoved. Her confidence in her misguided plan was infuriating, but I decided to shift my focus. If she wanted to explore life without me, perhaps it was time for me to do the same. It had been about 3 months since Emily left, and I felt it was time to move forward. I reached out to a woman I knew from my cycling group for a date. My aim was simply to find some companionship and break free from the monotonous routine I'd been trapped in since Emily moved out. My days had revolved around work, the gym, cycling, and sleep, nothing more, nothing less. I clung to a faint hope that Emily might come to her senses and return, but deep down, I knew it was unlikely. She seemed to be relishing her newfound freedom and seeking validation and excitement that had been missing from our marriage. I wanted to avoid coming across as desperate, so I decided to get to know the people in my cycling group better before asking anyone out. I wanted the connection to be genuine, not just an attempt to fill a void. Most of my cycling friends were aware of my separation, and some might even have heard about Emily's active dating life. In a city of our size, word tends to travel fast. I asked Diane, one of the women from the group, if she'd like to join me for a drink or tea. To my surprise, she agreed. We planned a casual Saturday night outing. I suggested we go kayaking on a nearby lake before dinner. I had some experience with kayaking, and Diane was interested but had never tried it before. We spent about 3 hours on the lake, covering around 10 miles. It was a great time, and afterward, we had dinner at a charming restaurant. I had a craft beer with steak and fries, while Diane enjoyed white wine with pasta. The evening was relaxed and enjoyable, ending with ice cream from a waterfront stand. I drove her home and intended to give her a kiss on the cheek, but she surprised me with a kiss on the lips. It was a pleasant and unexpected moment. To avoid seeming too eager, I waited until our next regular cycling meetup to suggest another date. Diane seemed concerned that my lack of communication meant I didn't enjoy our time together. I reassured her that I had a great time and valued her company. We arranged another date for Saturday, this time for a round of golf. On Friday, I texted Diane to confirm our golf plans and offered to pick her up or let her meet me at the club. She preferred that I pick her up, so we agreed on an early afternoon time. Our time on the golf course was fun, despite our amateur skills. That evening, we had a barbecue at my place and enjoyed a bottle of wine. As the night wore on and I prepared to drive her home, Diane took the car keys from me and asked to see the bedroom. The next morning, I woke up next to Diane. She was a striking woman with long, dark hair, captivating green eyes, and a small scar on her chin that added character to her beautiful face. Standing around 5 feet 11 inches tall and weighing about 140 pounds, she had a slender figure. As a nurse in the pediatric department, she showed a genuine compassion for others. From the moment we met, her authenticity and charm were magnetic. We had breakfast on my patio, and our conversation eventually turned to my plans and the possibility of divorce. Diane needed to understand my intentions before becoming more emotionally invested. No one wants to invest time in someone who might reconcile with their estranged spouse soon. As I explained Emily's reasoning for leaving, Diane's reaction confirmed my suspicion. She didn't believe Emily would return. Her insight pushed me to proceed with the next step in my plan. On Monday morning, I contacted my lawyer and hired an investigator to look into Emily's activities. I wanted to know how many men she was seeing before I served her with divorce papers. The investigator revealed that Emily was involved with multiple men, most of whom were married. They were gathering at Rachel's apartment for post-club get-togethers. 2 weeks later, Emily received the divorce petition, and it set off a series of chaotic events. That night, she showed up at the house, clearly distressed, clutching a large brown envelope. I answered the door and greeted her. "Emily, what brings you here tonight?" I asked. Her voice was filled with confusion and desperation. "Sweetheart, I received these papers today. Why did you file for divorce?" I said I'd be home soon, maybe even this week. We could still plan for that baby we talked about. I invited her inside and led her to the kitchen. "It's too late for that now, Emily. I made it clear when you left that I didn't want you to go, but you chose to leave." Trying to justify her actions, she said, "Honey, I needed to find myself and build confidence." With a hint of sarcasm, I replied, "So, do you feel confident now? Are you fulfilled? Have you explored your desires and new relationships? Met intriguing people? Had your fair share of physical encounters?" Frustration seeped into my tone. "Because it certainly seems like you have. I've barely heard from you since you left. You didn't even call me on my birthday, probably too busy with one of your flings in the Dominican Republic. Your mother even reached out to me, wondering why you didn't call her on Mother's Day. Have you spent this whole time chasing physical pleasure?" Emily looked distressed. "Honey, I love you so much. I realize I may have gone too far. I'm coming back home today." "No, you're not," I firmly stated. She looked puzzled. "What do you mean?" "I'm still your wife, and this is still my home. I'm going back to Jess's place to get my things and will return in a few hours." I clarified, "Actually, you can't. Did you read all the papers in that envelope? There's a judge's ruling stating that you're prohibited from being within 500 feet of this house until the divorce is finalized. Technically, you're violating that court order by being here now. I won't push it, but you need to leave. We can handle this legally." Emily began to grasp the seriousness of our situation. The marriage vows we once shared included promises of love, respect, and fidelity, things she had clearly neglected. I told her that the house didn't hold sentimental value for me. If she wanted it, she could buy my half for nearly $150,000, which was almost paid off. If not, we would sell it and split the proceeds. It was a straightforward arrangement, but she wouldn't be returning while I was still living here. I walked her to the door, closed it behind her, and locked it. A month later, without the need for a court appearance, we finalized our divorce quietly. Emily received her share of the assets. We sold the house, and I moved on with my life. Emily went back to her routine, but I heard from a friend that her charter school advised her to keep her personal life more private. Some parents had learned about her involvement with multiple men and were uncomfortable with her teaching their children. The most vocal were the mothers, concerned about the possibility of some fathers being involved with her. Emily was later diagnosed with a sexually transmitted disease, which wasn't life-threatening but required a year of abstinence. Fortunately, that wasn't an issue as she was already pregnant. It seemed one of her partners had fathered the child. Emily's inconsistent use of birth control, frequent drinking, and lack of contraceptive use contributed to the situation. The father was unknown but resembled a married teacher at her school. With the divorce finalized, I was finally free from Emily. It's been about a year since the turmoil began. I've bought a new house, received a promotion at work, and most importantly, Diane and I are now living together. We're thrilled to share two big announcements. We're getting married this summer, and we're expecting a baby around